Wait times are going up, park passes are selling out. Disney World does seem to be getting more crowded after being a ghost town for months, but we've got the tips to help you have a great time and stay safe, so stay tuned. Hey everybody, it's AJ for Disney Food Blog. We've got team members in Disney World every single day, and we gotta say, things are starting to seem a bit more crowded there. So how do you plan for unexpected crowds and longer wait times in a time of social distancing, increased safety precautions, and no fast pass? Well, we've got the details on what to expect as Disney World gets more crowded and what it means for you. Let's get started. First, let's talk about what's happening. What is the data that we're seeing? What are we experiencing when we're in the parks? Well, let's talk wait times first. Wait times in July versus September. So when the Disney parks first reopened back in July, wait times were so low you could easily ride your favorites several times in a row. But now those 5-minute waits for Flight of Passage are few and far between. Lines for the top rides are building and getting pretty long as of late, with Splash Mountain and Mickey and Minnie's Runaway Railway creeping over the hour-plus mark nearly every day. We've seen Mickey and Minnie's Runaway Railway at 105 minutes plus every once in a while. Flight of Passage has been high, Expedition Everest has been high, and some days you're seeing multiple rides at 80 minutes plus. Slinky Dog Dash and Seven Dwarfs Mine Train are also regularly sitting around 1 hour, especially during the middle of the day. Tower of Terror and Rock and Roller Coaster tend to get longer lines midday as well, and you can often expect wait times of 45 or 55 minutes for those two thrill rides, particularly if you're visiting on the weekend. Even with wait times getting longer, though, there are still a few rides that have relatively low wait times. Dumbo, Buzz Lightyear, the Magic Carpets and Teacups, Dinosaur, Spaceship Earth, Grand Fiesta Tour, Living with the Land, these are doing okay in terms of wait times still being low. Now, in addition to wait times clearly getting higher, park passes are also selling out. So you guys know that Disney has a new park pass reservation system that in order to go to a park, you not only have to have a ticket to get into the park, but you also have to have a park pass that you have to book ahead of time. This is helping Disney to control capacity in the parks. Now, the first fully sold out or at capacity day came over Labor Day weekend. And since then, more and more dates have been selling out of park passes or park reservations further in advance. So if you're traveling during typically busy times at Disney World, by that we mean long holiday weekends like Veterans Day, Columbus Day, of course Thanksgiving week, Christmas week, New Year's week, all of those time frames. Those are historically really busy times for Disney World. So if you're traveling during those time frames, get your park passes now and start thinking about early 2021 as well. Those long weekends, Martin Luther King, President's Day, etc. Those are going to be the first dates to sell out too. So which days are already selling out right now? Halloween and Thanksgiving has already seen park passes sell out for annual pass holders, and New Year's is starting to get limited. We've been tracking park pass availability, and it does seem that Disney will release more passes for certain groups from time to time, so keep checking back. Even if a date has sold out of annual pass holder park passes, Disney may release more passes for that group as the date gets closer. Now remember, park passes are in 3 groups: annual pass holders, regular ticket holders, and resort hotel guests. So there's different availability amounts for each of those. What we're seeing is that annual pass holder park passes sell out first most of the time. Every once in a while, we see resort hotels or regular ticket holders have less availability than pass holders, but it's not often. Usually those guys have plenty of park passes far past the time that annual pass holder park passes sell out. Now, as Florida continues to move forward into phase 3 and beyond, Disney World will likely follow suit and capacity could increase, meaning more park passes become available. Right now, though, Disney is keeping capacity as is. They say nothing will change even though Florida's moving into phase 3. Disney World's going to keep their mask mandate, they're going to keep their capacity, they're going to keep their social distancing. So as for right now, everything's the same as it was in July, but that may change as we move into the end of 2020 or into 2021. We just have to wait and see what Disney decides to do. Now, in addition to park passes selling out and wait times obviously getting longer based on empirical data, it also just feels more crowded there. So walking down Main Street is starting to feel a little bit more congested than it did when the parks first opened. And we don't know the numbers for what Disney World capacity is at the moment. They haven't released that information. And while it's lower than before the closures, it's starting to get a bit tighter on walkways. You'll want to pay particular attention to your personal space when there are characters coming, like cavalcades and the pop-up distanced meet and greets. Or if it starts raining, because people tend to crowd together to see the characters or to grab some cover if it starts to rain. If you've been to Disney before, you know there are plenty of pinch points. Fantasyland between Small World and Peter Pan, entrances to Galaxy's Edge, Mexico, and Epcot is a big one. Just stay aware of when and where crowds start to build and be more aware of your surroundings. Sometimes that means you need to take different or alternative paths or directions to get somewhere. Maybe avoid that Mexico pinch point as much as you can, unless it's first thing in the morning or we're right there towards the end of the evening. So have a map with you, look at the map on your My Disney Experience, plan ahead, and have alternative routes if things start to get really, really crowded and you're not able to socially distance any longer because there's just too many people there. Okay, so why is this happening? Why is Disney World getting more crowded? Well, we don't have definitive reasons since Disney isn't releasing numbers on park and hotel capacity, but we have a few ideas. We're getting into what is normally considered the busy season for Disney World, with Thanksgiving, Christmas, and New Year's being some of the busiest days at the resort. So naturally, we'd have expected crowd levels to increase as the holidays get closer. It's also possibly that many people who had trips scheduled earlier in the year when the parks were closed, those March spring break trips, those summer trips, all of those had to be rescheduled. And so a lot of these people coming right now could very easily be folks who had to reschedule their trips from the spring and the summer. And of course, with Florida moving into phase 3, which has given the green light for theme parks to operate at full capacity, even though Disney World's not doing that right now, people may just feel more safe or more comfortable traveling, regardless of whether it is actually safe to do so. We're still seeing cases spiking in other parts of the country, and many states are not as far along in their reopening. A totally 100% safe Disney World vacation may still be further away than we'd like to think, and many people are weighing the pros and cons of waiting versus traveling when cases are starting to lull in parts of the country. So you may see people traveling now who wouldn't have traveled in March, April, May, June, July, August. So that's all probably contributing to why those crowds are going up right now. So what does this mean for you? What tips do we have for you in this whole Disney World's getting more crowded thing? Because I'll be honest with you, I have a trip planned for November and I'm a little nervous. First of all, I'm nervous to go when there's this many people. But second of all, I'm nervous to go because these wait times are really high. And that means despite Disney's best efforts, you're not going to be able to ride everything you want to ride during that day with no fast pass. So I think a lot of us right now, I'm getting a lot of messages from you guys too, are concerned, like, are we still going to have low wait times? Are we still going to be able to ride whatever we want to ride when November and December come along? So again, what does this all mean for you? Well, wait times are going up, so you're going to be spending more time in line than those first few months following the park's reopening. Rise of the Resistance is still the only virtual queue, and you must show up early if you want to have the highest chance to ride that. Now, of course, Rise of the Resistance is the most popular ride in Disney World right now. It's in Disney's Hollywood Studios Star Wars Land, or Galaxy's Edge as it's called. And it does have a virtual queue right now, which means you have to get a boarding group to ride the ride at either 10 a.m. or 2 p.m. You have to use the Disney World app to confirm your boarding group, and only so many boarding groups are allowed, and those sell out within seconds at those 10 a.m. and 2 p.m. timeframes. Now, you may also end up having to wait in fairly long lines for those other top attractions, so you'll want to make a plan to ride all your must-dos. Hit those top attractions early or late when crowds will be lower. And you may have to wait longer for food as well. Rides may not be the only place you'll encounter long lines, because those kiosks and mobile orders may start to get longer waits as crowds increase. This is something we see regularly during the holidays at Disney World. And advanced dining reservations are going to sell out faster as well. So if you want to dine at some of Disney World's most popular restaurants, Be Our Guest restaurant, Cinderella's Royal Table, you're going to want to book those ahead of time. Remember, you can book starting at 60 days out for your dining reservations. Now, make those reservations early, right at 60 days if you can. Keep an eye on that walk-up wait list too. And if you haven't watched us before, the walk-up wait list is basically if you want to just walk up to a restaurant and dine there right then, you actually still have to sort of look at your app and book that restaurant for right then. It's kind of like a reservation to eat right now. But that's what you're going to want to keep an eye on if you're unable to get your top dining reservations prior to going to Disney World. Now, if you're eating at a quick service location or a fast food joint, or you're looking to score a last minute or walk-up reservation, dine at weird times to avoid crowds. So have your lunch at 11 o'clock, have your dinner at 4 o'clock. Stagger your dining times so they're not the same as everybody else's. Another way that Disney World is going to change for you, it's going to take you longer to get around. So transportation is still just as distanced as it was when the parks first opened, even though there's a lot more people trying to ride. So give yourself plenty of time to get where you need to go, as only a few people make it on each bus or monorail, and only one party is riding per Skyliner cabin. So check to see when transportation from your resort starts each day, especially if you're planning to get to the parks right when they open, because you may have to get there a little bit earlier to get on a bus that gets you to park opening time. Okay, next tip, you're going to need to stay aware of your personal space even more than you have had to do. Stay aware of crowds and those pinch points. Disney's doing a lot to help mitigate crowds from building, but you should still be aware of your surroundings. If you feel uncomfortable, don't feel badly about doubling back and taking a different route or waiting for crowds to clear out. Cavalcades are going to happen all day long. Cavalcades are the way you see characters now. These sort of come down Main Street every 20, 25, 30 minutes or so. They float down the river in Animal Kingdom, and they come in motorcades through Hollywood Studios. Over in Epcot, you'll see character cavalcades coming through World Showcase. And those are going to happen all day long. If there are too many people at this one, Mickey will certainly cruise back around soon, so you can just wait till the next one. Another thing to consider, as the crowds start going up in Disney World, your ideal hotel room might sell out. Now, there will absolutely be hotels available. Orlando is not selling the number of hotels they expected to. There are a lot of hotel rooms available right now. But if you don't have flexibility with your travel dates, make your reservation ASAP if you want to stay in a particular hotel or a particular room. If your go-to place to stay isn't open yet, there are several Disney Resort hotels that aren't open yet and don't have reopening dates at all, you can always try somewhere new. So we've got a whole video on the best rooms at Disney World to help you find your next favorite hotel. So be sure to watch that next. Something else to consider as you're headed to Disney World, as things are getting a little more crowded, more restaurants are reopening. There are more places to eat, with more restaurants opening nearly every week right now. But just because we're seeing more kiosks and restaurants opening, that doesn't mean everything is back to normal. Lots of places are only open on weekends or have weird hours, so you'll want to double check all that info. We've got a post we're continually updating over at DisneyFoodBlog.com with all of the restaurants that are currently open and when they're open. You'll want to jump on reservations that are on your must-do list so that you don't miss out, as Disney is still limiting capacity at those restaurants right now. So figure out where you want to eat and then figure out when they're actually open, because it can be a huge waste of time if you work in going to Kringla Bakery to get your school bread on your Tuesday Epcot day, and then you realize that Kringla is only open on the weekends. So like I said, we got all that information on Disney Food Blog, and go check it out so you have the latest and greatest details. Also, you can try eating at smaller off-the-radar places to avoid crowds, and again, dine at non-traditional meal times. Okay, another big tip that you're gonna need to know as Disney World is getting more crowded here this fall and winter is park hours are expanding and extending. So Disney's begun to extend park hours to match the number of guests coming to the parks. Weekend hours are extended in October, and Disney Springs hours are extended on Friday and Saturday nights as well. The parks will always be more crowded midday, so with longer hours, you can go early or late for lower crowds. So avoiding big crowds at Disney World and not wasting your time in long lines for rides and waiting for restaurants, that's all totally doable. You just need some extra planning. We're tracking the crowds and which days are selling out of park passes so you can stay on top of how and when to make your plans. Are you traveling to Disney World this holiday season? Do you have all your plans locked in? Be sure to let us know in the comments what you guys are going to do and if you're concerned that it may be getting too crowded for you. But after several months of Disney World being practically a ghost town, we are definitely seeing those numbers bump up. Thanks for listening, you guys. Thanks for watching. We'd love to hear your thoughts in the comments, what you're seeing in the parks right now. Sometimes they're super crowded. Sometimes it still feels like a ghost town. So you just never really know what you're going to get. As always, this is AJ for Disney Food Blog, and we'll see you real soon.